Hello, my loves. Today we're going to be talking about the G center, which is basically the center that moves you on your path throughout life and expresses the identity of who you are at your core. So stay tuned because by the end of this video, you'll learn the answers to the following questions. What is the theme and the role of the G center? What are the characteristics, gifts, and challenges of the defined G versus the undefined or open G? And lastly, I'll end with sharing what you can do to work with your G center so that you can embody its highest expression, unlock your innate magnetism, and most of all, attract the most aligned experiences in your life. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to continue to learn and deepen your understanding of human design, I invite you to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. So welcome back, and if you're new here, my name is Crystal Alfarero. I'm founder of the Human Design Academy, and I help people like yourselves understand your unique energetic blueprint through the human design system. So why is the G center important? Well, first of all, your G center is important because it's where the magnetic monopole resides. And if you're not familiar with the magnetic monopole, it's basically this one-sided pole that attracts and magnetizes whatever enters your life, and it works with the unconscious design crystal to really create your life experience. In Quantum Human Design and the book Abundance by Design by Karen Curry Parker, she says the G center is at the heart of the law of attraction because it determines what we allow ourselves to receive in our lives. She also says that we can only receive to the degree that we love ourselves, accept ourselves, and value ourselves. And really what this means for you is that you are inherently magnetic, and you are the most magnetic when you love yourself and when you're in alignment to your design, in other words, your authentic self. Therefore, understanding your G center can help you cultivate that inner magnetism and really calibrate the quality of who or what you attract into your life. So let's just dive in. So what is the theme of the G center? Well, the G center, also known as the self center or the identity center, is all about love, direction, and you guessed it, identity. The G center is where the magnetic monopole lives, and in terms of the physical body, the G center relates to the liver and blood. So from a human design perspective and really an energetic perspective, health issues related to the liver and blood can be tied to challenges that stem from this particular center as well, which we'll talk about later in this video. In the G center, there are 8 gates, which can be grouped into 2 categories: the direction gates and the love gates. Out of the direction gates, we have gate 1, which is the gate of self-expression. And this is the energy of having a deep capacity for creativity and this call towards self-expression. We have gate 13, which is the gate of the listener. And this is the energy of someone who's perceived as a good listener and they're seen as trustworthy. So people tend to go to them and open up to them and tell them all their secrets. They end up becoming the record keepers of past experiences as well. Next, we have gate 7, which is the gate of the role of self, and this is the energy of leading by influence and leading the way forward. And lastly, of the direction gates, we have gate 2, which is the gate of the direction of self, which is basically what people like to refer to as the director or the driver, because this is where the magnetic monopole sits in the body graph. And this is someone that has this natural sense of direction or vision, and they tend to have this strong inner GPS that moves them through life. Again, whether they listen to that or not is another story. Next, we have the love gate, starting with gate 15, which is also known as the gate of extremes, and this is the energy of extremes of behavior. So this is not someone that may thrive on routine, but rather have a different rhythm through life, embracing different rhythms, right? They embrace different rhythms. It's also tied to the love of humanity, and there's this just deep compassion and deep sense of acceptance with this gate because they also do know what it's like to live at different extremes. Next, we have gate 10, which is the gate of the behavior of self, and it's the energy of self-love and really loving one's unique being. We have gate 25, which is the gate of the spirit of self, which is tied to universal love. And again, there also is this theme of deep compassion and love for others, for everyone. And lastly, we have gate 46, which is the gate of the determination of self, which again is the energy of determination to follow through. And it's also tied to the love of the physical body. So caring for the physical vessel that moves us through life. Next, what is the purpose and role of the G center? Well, the role of the G center is that it's the identity center. And the reason for this is that it holds the magnetic monopole, which is responsible for attracting love and giving us direction and therefore creating our identity. The direction that we take in life, the place that we are in life, the time that we are in life, ultimately shapes who we are, how we express ourselves as well, right? So again, I'm going to talk more about the difference between when it's defined and when it's undefined later in this video, but it all kind of comes together to create who we are and how we express ourselves, right? The magnetic monopole in the G center is also responsible for attracting what specifically ours to experience over the course of our lifetime, as it works with that unconscious design crystal. And it also creates an internal pull that gives us direction and keeps us on our path. And lastly, it attracts all the people, places, and events that we're here to encounter. So now we're going to shift gears and contrast this with the undefined or open G center. With the undefined or open G center, on the other hand, these are people who have a more inconsistent way of experiencing themselves. So many people with undefined Gs, including myself, sometimes struggle to know who they are since they tend to adapt to the personalities around them and can really fit in or blend in anywhere. This is their unique capacity to be chameleon-like and shift depending on where they are in life, what environment they're in, and who's around them at any time. And as much as there's this negative narrative around being a chameleon, it's actually authentic and natural for someone with an undefined G center. You know, their gift is in their adaptability and ability to mirror people and meet others where they are. And because of the openness of their identity center, their environment and geographic location is so incredibly important for them because they get their identity from their environment and who they're with at any given time. So Ra says the mantra for the undefined G center is, if you're in the wrong place, you're with the wrong people or the wrong person. And it's actually correct for them to, hop on someone else's path, to sample different paths and determine which one is correct for them. Kind of like what I was mentioning earlier about how I sample different directions from the people in my life. And again, they tend to not have this fixed direction and experience a lot of plot twists in life. I mean, who doesn't? But even more so when you have this undefined or open G. And this is how they're guided to their unique path. And I can say this is totally true for me and for so many of my clients with undefined G centers. And I wanted to expand a little bit more on environment as well, because whenever I have a client who feels stuck in life and, they kind of feel lost and they have that undefined G center, one of the biggest reasons why is because they're not in the right environment that supports them, that feels, comfortable for them, that feels expansive for them. And so you might always want to inquire, are they thinking about moving? Have they been pulled to want to move somewhere new? And a lot of the times that will alleviate a lot of that confusion and give them a lot of clarity on what direction they're going and really support them in their fulfillment and their well-being. I've moved around a lot during my life. You might see a lot of people with undefined G centers move a lot throughout their lives, and this is okay, right? We want to make sure that if you're feeling lost, if you have an undefined G center, are you in the right place? Whether it's your workplace, whether it is your town or your city that you live in, does this feel supportive of your well-being? Do you feel good in your environment? And if you're planning on moving or if you're planning on changing workplaces, it's really beneficial for someone with an undefined or open G to sample that environment or to go to that place before actually making that decision to move there, right? To see what the culture is like, let's say if it's in a workplace, or to see what the energy is like even in a certain location, right? So that can be very helpful. Some other gifts of the undefined G is that they have this ability to see the potential of the people around them, to see people for who they really are, because they take in the identity of other people and they feel this in amplified ways. They have this ability to really see someone at their core and, this capacity to step into others' shoes as if they were them, because they're constantly shifting and taking in the identities of others. And again, they just have this ability to really discern who's living their life the most authentically. And one of the core challenges with the Undefined G Center is this fear of not being lovable and this fear of not really knowing who they are, especially when they don't have a consistent sense of self or this consistent sense of direction. It's common for them to mold themselves into a version that they feel will be loved and accepted by others, even if it's not what's best or the most authentic for them. And especially if they have that undefined solar plexus and have that tendency for people pleasing. So it's really, really important for them to understand and see that they are worthy and that they are innately worthy of love and receiving love, and they're lovable the way they are. It's really common for them to have, many identity crises and easily attach themselves to the identities of others or their environment, which again, sometimes creates a sense of feeling lost once that environment changes or once that time or that period in your life has passed. Going back to environment, the key for someone with an undefined G center is to be in the right place or the right environment. And this will lead them to the right job, home, or relationship, as well as leading them to the right circumstances in their life so that they can gain clarity in their direction. Like, I lived in Toronto for, I'm going to say 26 years of my life, and felt lost for a very, very long time. And it wasn't until I got up, moved to Barcelona, that things started to become a lot more clear for me. So I feel like that was, I started my Saturn return in Barcelona and kind of went through it there. And this kind of opened up a new chapter of my life, new chapters of my life. And this is where I am today. Another thing that's really important for them is to let go of their attachment to finding a fixed identity, to finding love and finding this fixed sense of direction, and really just letting life surprise you, just focusing on being in the right environment, focusing on the joy in the present, and these things will come, right? I have an undefined G center, like I've mentioned many times in this video, and I definitely had my share of identity crises, especially in high school and in my early 20s. I've taken on a lot of superficial identities, the identity of the athlete many times, and each time I stopped playing sports or stopped going to the gym, it just left me feeling lost and disconnected, right? I attached myself too much to that identity. I took on the identity of a party girl in university at times, but then also felt like this created a lot of chaos and instability as well. Because on the flip side of that, I also took the role of the high achiever, but then would get so down on myself if I got criticized or if I did something wrong. And it created a lot of this inner conflict. It's like, who am I? The party girl, the introverted nerd, or the, whatever it is. It's just, there were so many aspects to me that I tried to attach myself to in order to give me that sense of self, that stability. And then it just created more chaos as I tried to hold on to it too tightly. And yeah, of course, I would also mold myself into the version of me that would be the most liked, loved, or whatever you want to say, and accepted, because I had this deep desire to fit in and belong. I think we all do. When we're molding ourselves only to be loved or liked by other people, it comes at our own expense, right? And it ends up being with people who are never going to accept me anyways, right? Putting a lot of effort into that is probably not the best thing to do, right? And also for me as a Filipino Canadian, I've had a lot of inner conflict navigating both my Filipina and Canadian identity, which is still something I'm navigating to this day. In hindsight, I've learned that there's so much danger, I guess you could say if that's the right word, to attaching myself to one thing and trying to put labels around who I am. I've realized I'm so many things to so many people, and it's healthy for me to not attach myself to this one thing or this one label, and to really find that balance and witness the magic of who I get to be from moment to moment. So not trying to answer the question, who am I? But who am I in this moment? Who do I want to be in this moment? And that's helped relieve so much anxiety around this feeling of not knowing who I am. And last but not least, what can you do to work with your G center and embody its highest expression? So whether you have a defined G or an undefined G, The best way to really transcend the shadows of this center is by cultivating self-love, right? This looks like loving yourself enough that you feel comfortable and proud to show up as your authentic self if you have a defined G, and also loving yourself enough to detach from constantly seeking love and acceptance outside of yourself if you have an undefined G or open G. And while this work is still ongoing for me, my two favorite and most powerful ways for cultivating self-love are shadow work and mirror work. So starting with shadow work is all about bringing awareness to and fully integrating the different parts of us that we might have repressed or rejected in order to reclaim authenticity and reclaim wholeness. It's what helps you cultivate self-love and compassion for all parts of yourself. You know, the parts of yourself that you may feel are cringy or embarrassed or ashamed by, so that you feel more accepting and empowered to show up as your unique self. While this isn't going to be a shadow work video, you can start by just making a list of all the things that trigger you or cause an emotional reaction within you, such as annoyance or resistance or anger, right? These triggers can give you so much insight into what we deny or reject in ourselves. As an example, I used to be so triggered by people who would come across as angry or aggressive, which I largely attribute to my childhood and having certain authority figures in my life that were explosive. And so throughout life, I repressed this angry side within myself. You know, I chose not to see it in myself, and I people pleased and continued to repress this anger, which always ended up ironically resulting in my own anger outbursts or even crying when I was angry in the most inappropriate situations, and having inconsistent reactions because I had so much unprocessed anger inside of me. I didn't know how to process this myself. But the moment I dug into this trigger and really witnessed and accepted this shadow aspect of myself, I was able to not only allow myself to feel the feelings, process them, and release so much pent-up anger, but also show more love and understanding for myself and for people around me as well. Because cultivating a strong sense of self-love starts with loving all sides of yourself, including the sides that you don't want to see. Next, we have mirror work, which, as the name suggests, is spending time in front of the mirror with, you guessed it, yourself. And there are no wrong ways to do mirror work. I mean, you can start from simply gazing into your own eyes, giving yourself compliments, talking to yourself, or repeating positive affirmations as you get ready in the morning in front of the mirror. And as simple as it sounds, it can be so uncomfortable at first. Like, I remember the first time I even looked at myself in the mirror in silence. It just brought up so much feeling of discomfort, you know, especially if you're someone that's used to looking in the mirror and being self-critical, right? I went through this period of a lot of body issues and a lot of, again, just being very self-judgmental, self-critical. And it took a lot for me to just look in the mirror and, you know, stop saying certain things to myself, stop using harmful words against myself, and making that conscious choice to say loving words instead. Mirror work really teaches you the habit of replacing negative self-talk with words of positive affirmations, which studies have shown really does work, and it really does help you reprogram your thoughts that no longer serve you. And most of all, it's helped me create intimacy with myself, which is the most, you know, with the relationship you have with yourself is the most important relationship you can have. And it's really helped me feel comfortable with who I am and with my weirdness and with all of my quirks and everything else that sometimes I would try to repress or deny in myself. These are the beautiful things that make us unique. These are the things that we want to learn to love, to accept, and not be afraid to embrace them and share them with the world in a way that, you know, we're proud of, that we truly, truly do love and accept. So let me know in the comments if you've tried shadow work or mirror work before and how they've helped you on your deconditioning journey. So now we've come to the end of this video, but if you're wanting to get that extra help to help you understand and decondition your G center and would like to do human design reading, I do offer one-to-one readings that include a 90-minute Zoom call, plus you get a customized 30-page human design blueprint for your own learning and reflection that you can always refer back to as a resource guide. And all of that information is in the description down below. And again, this brings me to the end of this episode where we've answered the following questions. What is the theme and role of the G center? What are the characteristics, gifts, and challenges of a defined G versus undefined or open G? And lastly, I shared what you can do to really work with your G center so that you can cultivate that self-love, embody its highest expression, unlock your magnetism, and attract the most aligned experiences into your life so that you can really step in and own who you are and share that with the world. So if you enjoyed this video, I'd be so grateful if you could show me some love, hit that like button, and hit subscribe to continue learning more about the wonderful human design system. So with that said, have an amazing day or evening, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.